The Cursed Sword of the Samurai. In a country of cherry blossoms and quiet temples, a darker story hides in the steel. This is the story of a sword that men both feared and chased, a blade whose name echoes like a warning, Muramasa. Some called it cursed, some said it demanded blood, others believed it revealed the true nature of any man who held it. Tonight, we'll trace the blade's origin, the tragedies linked to it, and why a nation tried to bury its name. Welcome to Japanese History Mysteries, where history meets mystery. To understand Muramasa, we must go back to a violent age, the Sengoku, or Warring States period, roughly the 15th to 16th centuries. Japan was fractured. Daimyo regional lords waged constant war. In such times, weapons were more than tools, they were power, status, and superstition. Famed swordsmiths gained reputations like generals. A blade that cut truer or held its edge longer could change a battle. Into this world stepped craftsmen whose work became legend. One such name was Muramasa Sengo, a master. But unlike many revered smiths who prayed for purity, he was said to temper something else into steel, a raw, vengeful will. Whether myth or memory, the blades that bore his name gathered stories of misfortune and murder, and then a ruling family reacted. Muramasa Sengo is a semi-historical figure wrapped in folklore. Records show smiths of the Muramasa lineage worked in the Mino province. Over generations, the family produced blades renowned for quality and quickness. But stories claim these blades had a personality, sharp, relentless, even bloodthirsty. Tales grew a blade that would not be sheathed until it tasted blood, a katana that stirred its owner to violence. These accounts mingle with facts. Some Muramasa blades did appear at key events linked to deaths and betrayals. We must be careful, legend grows around fact. Yet the persistence of these stories tells us about fear, power, and how objects become symbols. Historical texts and daimyo records occasionally name Muramasa blades, sometimes factually, sometimes as rumor. The Tokugawa family, who unified Japan in the early 17th century, collected records of swords and sought to control influences that might threaten order. A strand of narrative says Tokugawa Ieyasu believed a Muramasa sword had been linked to attempts on his life or that of his kin. Whether true in each instance is debated among historians, but Ieyasu's actions were clear after consolidating power. The Tokugawa forbade or withdrew certain blades from circulation. This reaction reveals a political reality. When objects are associated with chaos, controlling them becomes a tool of the new order. Banish a name, and you shape the past. Legends cluster around a few motifs: sudden madness, betrayal, family slaughter, inexplicable accidents. Some stories tell of a lord who entrusted a Muramasa to a retainer only to be betrayed and murdered by the same man. Other tales claim entire houses fell after a Muramasa entered their possession. One oft-repeated anecdote involves the assassination attempts and family misfortunes surrounding Tokugawa ancestors. Another speaks of duels where Muramasa blades seemed almost to guide the swaying, finding weakness that should not have existed. Scholars caution as oral tradition sensationalizes. But even if a blade did not literally want blood, the belief in such power altered behavior. Warriors made choices based on fear of a cursed instrument, and fear changes history. Why do people call an object cursed? Psychology gives us clues. Humans seek explanations for tragedy and disorder. When coincidences pile up, a sword present at several misfortunes, minds link cause and effect. Stories that ascribe agency to objects spread because they satisfy a need for narrative. In the samurai context, there was also ritual belief. Swords were treated as more than metal. They were heirlooms, ritual objects, gods in miniature. The idea of the sword having a spirit kami finds roots in Shinto thinking. Objects can be vessels for spirits. Mix that with fear, political intrigue, and the horrors of war, and you have fertile ground for a legend to grow. Moreover, confirmation bias ensured believers remembered mishaps and forgot the countless times nothing happened. Some texts mention rituals meant to calm a blade. Blood offerings, purification ceremonies, or sealing a sword in a shrine were ways people tried to control perceived danger. One ritual practice was to keep a blade sheathed under a sacred cloth or in a shrine space, where priests recited prayers. Another was to never use the sword except in strictly sanctioned circumstances. The idea: limit use, limit harm. There are accounts of samurai performing prayers or offerings before battle to appease the weapon's spirit. In other cases, swords were ceremonially killed, ritually melted or buried to prevent further calamity. These acts show cultural strategies to manage objects that had social power. Beyond belief, banning a blade is political theater. Tokugawa control required symbolism. The new peace needed clear limits on violence's instruments. Associating a name with instability made it easy to remove not only the physical objects but the social myths that empowered them. Seizing or suppressing swords allowed the state to control lineage, inheritance, and prestige. If a family's honor relied on a feared blade, removing the blade could break that family's social leverage. Power, in short, often demanded erasing inconvenient stories. Today, a handful of Muramasa labeled swords survive, etched in museums and temples. Curators describe these blades as heavy with history. Visitors report odd sensations. Some researchers argue these impressions are psychological. Others note subtle physical features, unusual temper lines, distinctive hamon that set Muramasa blades apart technologically. Scholars debate, is there a class of blades with exceptional cutting performance? Yes. Did that performance fuel fear and myth? Also yes. But did metal itself acquire malice? Most historians are skeptical. Instead, they see Muramasa as a case study in how craftsmanship, war, politics, religion, and rumor fuse into enduring legends. The Muramasa story asks a broader question: where does danger reside, in things or in us? A sword can be a tool, a symbol, a mirror. It reflects the hands that hold it and the world that frames those hands. When societies attribute malice to objects, they often reveal anxieties about power, memory, and identity. Muramasa's legend persists because it helps people make sense of trauma and culpability. It externalizes responsibility in a manageable form. If we are honest, the most disturbing conclusion is simple: sometimes the blade only revealed what was already in a warrior's heart. We've followed steel from fire to myth, seen how a name can travel from a forge to a family vault, from rumor to royal decree. Muramasa may never tell us its truth, but the story shows how humans write meaning onto objects. What do you believe? Is Muramasa cursed, or is the curse a story we needed to tell? Leave your thoughts below. I'll read the best answers in our next episode. Thank you for watching. Japan's history still hides countless secrets, and we're just getting started. If you want to uncover more mysteries of samurai, ninja, and ancient Japan, subscribe and join us on this journey through time.